So we're starting a new unit, and it is on writing linear equations. So we spent a great deal of time graphing lines, and now we are going to go backwards and be given information, and we write the equation. So the handouts that I asked you to do were some applications of writing equations. Writing linear equations is going to be used in a lot of your science classes, and so we got to know how to apply that. So I want to talk about the electric car problem. So if you want to go to that 4-2 handout on the electric car. So the handout broke down the problem for you, but the biggest question is deciding what was your independent variable or your domain and what was your dependent variable or your range. Again, the variable that you actually use is irrelevant. It's understanding what they stand for. So my independent variable was the gas that would be used, and my dependent variables was the miles traveled. So gas, our miles, is a function of gas, and this car got 50 miles to the gallon, but it was an electric car, so before it had to use gas, it could travel 40 miles. All right, on the XY chart, based on that, I put in 0, and if I put in 0, I get 40 miles, which makes sense, which means gas. I don't have to use any gas, but can still travel 40 miles because it's an electric car. If I use 1 gallon of gas, 50 times 1 is 50, plus 40 is 90, etc. Okay, let's talk about the gym problem, where I think it was Terrence who was trying to figure out whether he was going to choose to join the gym. So again, it is deciding on your independent and your dependent variables. And also, I forgot to mention, do you notice that this is like y equals mx plus b? All right, so the gym. All right, what was the independent variable? Well, the independent variable was how many times a month he would go to the gym. It doesn't matter. The problem called it visits, so I made v my independent variable or my domain. What depended upon the number of visits was the cost. Okay, so cost is a function of visits. So that C of V equals, it was $2 a visit, but like a lot of gyms have a fee that you have to pay no matter how much you use it. So that's why we have plus V. Or we could have just said C equals 2V plus 8. So for example, how much would it cost him if he went to the gym 10 times in 1 month? 2 times 10 is 20, plus 8 would be $28. Okay, let's talk about Lily mailing her package. All right, so again, we had to decide what was the independent variable or the domain. Well, the independent variable was the weight of the package. The more something weighs, the more you have to pay. The dependent, or I think they called it S in the problem, was the shipping cost. In other words, if you ever went to the post office or FedEx or anything to mail a package, they may say the shipping cost. So they made this, I said money or S for my dependent variable. So the shipping cost depended upon the W, S depended upon the weight. So S of W equals, all right, it was 80 cents a pound, plus no matter how much it weighed, I had to pay $3.95. All right, or I could have just said my shipping cost equals 80 cents a pound plus $3.95. So Lily's gift weighed 5 pounds. So how much did Lily's gift cost? Well, 80 cents times 5 is $4. $4 plus $3.95 is $7.95. So that was a way to introduce you to writing equations and how to use them. Okay, so now if you need to stop the video, I want you to do the 4 warm-up questions. And the 4 warm-up questions are asking you to take these 4 linear equations, find the slope and the y-intercept. So please go ahead, stop the video, do the warm-up, and then start again. Okay, so in the warm-up in number 1, all right, we like this because in number 1, this was in slope-intercept form. So y was on a side by itself. When my slope was -3, my y-intercept was 0, -8. Now, in number 2, that's standard form. Remember standard form. So we had to get y by itself. So I had to subtract 3x from both sides. Then I divided by a -2. Be careful on your signs. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that's a positive 3/2. A positive divided by a negative is a -9/2. So my slope is 3/2, my y-intercept is 0, -9/2, or 0, -4.5. Now, number 3, hopefully you right away thought, oh, that's one of those special cases. I'm going to graph it. Okay, it's y equals 4, so that is a horizontal line. Now, that doesn't answer my question. I asked, what's the slope and what's the y-intercept? Well, the slope of any horizontal line we know is 0 because it has 0 steepness. Now, where's the y-intercept? Well, where did it cross the y-axis? It crossed the y-axis at 0, 4. Every point on this line has a y-coordinate of 4, but specifically the y-intercept was 0, 4. Okay, number 4. X equals -6. Hopefully you're thinking, all right, that's a special case. And it is. Remember, it's a vertical line. Sometimes it helps me to graph it to see it. So I graphed it, but that doesn't answer the question. The question is, find the slope and the y-intercept. The slope of the slope of a vertical line is undefined, and it does not cross the y-axis. Okay, and then the next question I asked you, which is going to help us for today, is, do you remember the slope formula? Difference in y's over difference in x's, y's over x's, rise over run. Okay, so what our objective today is, I'm going to give you information and you are going to write a linear equation. Now, I can give you lots of different situations, but let's think about when we were graphing lines. What did I always ask you? What do you need to graph a line? You need slope and a point. All right, what's the best point to have? The y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to take this a little bit slower, not diving into all the possibilities today. All right, so keep in mind you need slope and a point to write a line. But if you have slope and a y-intercept, can't you just write the equation right away? Because can't you use y equals mx plus b? And that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay, so I said to write a linear equation, you need slope and a point. But what is the easiest situation to have? If you have slope and y-intercept, you can just use y equals mx plus b. So let's look at example 1. I gave you that the slope was 4 and that 0, -6 was the point. Well, if I have 0, -6, isn't that the y-intercept? Slope, y-intercept, so my equation equals y equals 4x minus 6. All right, let's take a look at b. I gave you that the slope was -1/2 and the y-intercept was 0, 13. Bam, easiest situation. Slope is -1/2, y-intercept is 13. Now, don't be mistaken. I'll have some people, I'll give a slope and then I'll just give a random point and they'll put that point here. Doesn't that point always have to be the y-intercept in order to just write it down? It does. Okay, so now let's go to example 2. The slope is 0. And it goes to the point 4, -3. Keep in mind what we're doing here. We're writing the equation. So hopefully right away you think, oh, slope is 0. That's a special case. I'm going to sketch that. All right, if my slope is 0, it's a horizontal line. All right, so if it's a horizontal line, don't we know it has to be y equals some number? Doesn't a horizontal line cross the y-axis? So y equals what? We'll go to my point. I'm not saying that's the y-intercept, but isn't this the y-coordinate that the line goes through? So this line would be y equals -3, which means horizontal line, every point on that line has a y-coordinate of -3. So first of all, I had to decide, oh, this was a special case. It's horizontal, so I know horizontal lines all have the equation y equals a number. All right, let's take a look at B. All right, so B, I said that the slope was 0, and and it goes to the point -2,5. So right away, if I told you the slope is 0, you should be thinking special case, special case. I sketched it. Oh, remember, special case either means it's horizontal or it's vertical. Well, if the slope is 0, that means it has 0 steepness, it's horizontal. So if it's horizontal, I know it has to be y equals a number. Well, let's take a look at the point that it goes through. What's the y-coordinate that it goes through? It goes through -2,5. 5 is the y-coordinate. So the equation of the line is y equals 5. Now, every point on that line would have a y-coordinate of 5. All right, let's go to the next example. 3, the slope is undefined and it goes to the point 1, 9. All right, so right away you should be thinking special case. Slope is undefined. It means it is a vertical line. Vertical lines have what type of equations? X equals. So x equals what? Well, let's go to the point that it goes through. All right, it goes to the point 1, 9. What is the x coordinate of that point? 1. All right, so the equation of the line is 1. So all the points on that line have an x coordinate that's 1. All right, 3b, write the equation of a line where the slope is undefined and it goes through the point -3, -2. Right away, slope is undefined. Sketch it. I should be thinking special case. Okay, special case either means vertical or horizontal. This means vertical. And vertical means that's going to be x equals. What x coordinate does this go through? Okay, we will finish the back side of the hard copy of notes that you have on another day. What I need you to do now is I need you to get out a piece of paper, maybe paper that you're going to do the homework on, and we need to put additional examples. So why don't you go ahead, take out your notebook, put today's date, and put additional note examples, and you can just use the same page to do your homework. So if you need to stop the video, let's do that. Okay, so hopefully now you got a piece of notebook paper or paper that you're going to do your homework on. I want to do more problems. All right, so writing an equation. Now, here's a different situation. I gave you 2 points, and I want you to write the equation of the line. Okay, so we've always said to graph or write an equation, we need slope and a point. But what is the easiest possibility? To have slope with the y-intercept. Well, always look at your points. Are either one of these the y-intercept? They are. So bam, I do have my y-intercept, but what's the problem? No, I don't have my slope. So I can find the slope of a line between 2 points by doing difference in y's over difference in x's. So here we go, slope formula. Single underline your x's, double underline your y's. -4 minus 7 is -11. 0 minus 2 is -2. A negative over a negative is a positive. So I have my slope. Do you have slope? Do you have y-intercept? You do. So the equation of my line is y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Okay. Let's do another problem like that. So again, what do we need to graph a line? What do we need to write the equation of a line? We need slope and a point. What is the most ideal situation to have if you have slope and a y-intercept? So let's take a look at the next example. I'm asking you to write the equation of a line that goes through the points 2, -5, and 0, -1. So the first thing I would look for is, do I have a y-intercept? Ring, ring, ring. Yes, I do. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I do have a y-intercept, so that's good. But what don't I have? I don't have slope. So I need to figure out the slope. So single underline my x's, double underline my y's. Be careful. This is -1 minus a -5, not -1 minus 5. It's -1 plus 5, which is 4, and then 0 minus 2, which is -2. 4 divided by -2 is -2. Do I have slope? Yes. Do I have a y-intercept? Yes. Remember, all y-intercepts have an x-coordinate of 0. So the equation of my line is y equals -2x minus 1. All right, last one of this type. Let's take a look at 4c. Given 2 points, I want to write the equation of the line. I need slope and a point. Ideally, if I have the y-intercept, woo, that's what we want. Do I have a y-intercept? Yes, I do. 0, -4. So that's good. Now let's figure out the slope because I don't have that, but I have 2 points, so I can figure out the slope. -4 minus a -4 is not -8. It's -4 plus 4, which is 0. 0 minus 6 is -6. What is 0 divided by anything? 0. All right, do you have slope? Do you have a y-intercept? So I have y equals 0x minus 4. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but what is 0 times anything? Gone. Isn't this just the line y equals -4? And doesn't it make sense that it would just be a horizontal line because the slope is 0? And look at the y coordinates it's going through. Okay, last type. All right, now I know that you're going to look at this and say, I have no idea what's being asked. So take a look here. What if I said, write the equation of a line given this situation? That f of 0 equals 7 and f of 3 equals 1. All right, don't let that notation over volume. Isn't this just saying that my domain is 0 and the range is 7? So 0, 7 is my point. F of 3 equals 1. Isn't that just saying that my domain is 3 and my range is 1? So my point is 3, 1. That's all that means. Remember, when you put a number in, you get a number out. This is a way to show that I put this number in, I got this number out. Okay, so I have 2 points again. What do I want? Y-intercept and slope. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. 0, 7's my y-intercept. Now I have to find the slope. So write out my points. I would write out 0, 7 and 3, 1. So I have 1 minus 7 is negative 6. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So my slope is negative 2. Do I have slope? Yes. Do I have a y-intercept? Yes. So my equation is y equals negative 2x plus 7. So don't let that notation mess you up. This is just saying this is my domain. I put it in for x. This is what I got out. All right. So our 3 situations that we had in the notes are we had slope and a y-intercept. If we have slope and a y-intercept, that's the best possible case. We can just write it down. We also had our special cases where y equals a number if it's a horizontal line, where x equals a number, it's a horizontal line. I also gave you situations where I gave you 2 points, but one of them was the y-intercept, and you had to find the slope. Y equals mx plus b. Easiest situation to have for writing equations.